public pandemonium. The growing circulation of unverified misleading headlines and opinions presented as facts risk eroding public trust. And in fact, if you do your own analysis in independent Kenya's history, media used to be one of the most credible sources and trusted sources of information with extremely astronomical numbers. But because of some of their opinion or the public trust is below 20%. And therefore those of you who are new and incoming in the media have to continue to protect the sanctity of that profession. And I will not allow the deepening polarization and undermining informed national discourses. Journalism should contribute to national development by informing citizens objectively, scrutinizing institutions fairly, and facilitating constructive public debate. Today's Kenyan media, particularly the Standard Group in its entirety, the Royal Media, particularly the Citizen, Media Max, particularly Kameme FM, just to mention a few, and their editors, some of their producers, anchors, and reporters have mutated into political hirelings and are conflicted. Kenyans have lost trust in their reporting. Equally, the renegade duo, Uhuru Kenyatta and Gideon Moi, and with their hirelings in some of the media houses, like Chacha Mwita, Lainas, Kai, and others, rather than demonstrating maturity by approaching emerging issues of national concern and sovereignty, patriotism, and unity have instead metamorphosed into political opportunists, exploiting every situation as political scavengers, seeking political mileage, likes in social media, and advancing narrow, myopic, and archaic interests at the expense of national good, who their opinions have morphed in their opinions into truth and exposing shallowness and political affiliation in their direct and indirect analysis. If you choose the path of politics with us, we should also use our forums to respond. You choose your media house to run a political agenda which we are appraised of and which we know, like Gideon Moi or anybody, and you are hired to do an article or a piece against any of us, the politicians will respond in their platforms. You shall not continue to hide under the fake veil that you erect of independent media. Therefore, you need to commit your troops to professional principles that have historically defined credible journalism: factual accuracy, editorial independence, balance, accountability, fairness, intellectual rigor, and I'll talk about this intellectual rigor, and respect for public's right to truthful information. I saw my dear sister Yvonne the other day trying to challenge the NTSA director whether he is being directed by UDA. The UDA and all directors of government, managing directors, ministers, execute the plan, which is the mandate given to us by the people of Kenya. It is the party that forms government, not government the party. All of them are expected to work towards the fulfillment of the pledges made by this government. The ignorance, the lack of intellectual vigor. Everybody has become an analyst of things he or she does not understand. Trying to pull off, like what Yvonne tried to do, some kind of a Mehdi Hassan or a Christian Anampo kind of bite, so that you can circulate it in TikTok. That poor attempt, constantly putting public servants and people who appear in your interviews into a line which lacks depth, critique, imagination. an NTSA Director General, a person working for the government of Kenya, works for that broad-based Kenya Kwanza, ODM government that is elected on the strength of a manifesto. In developed democracies, public servants are card-wielding members of various political parties, including judges and other people in other sectors of government. To constantly purport to pretend that you have currency in issues, asking him, what if they ask you to do something illegal? Seriously? Seriously? UDA asking somebody to do something illegal. Who the hell do you think we are? You know, it's getting to that point that these Mahdi Muhammad's, Christian Anampos wannabe, also we must respond in our podcasts, in our blogs, everywhere. They have chosen the path of politics because of the mediocrity of their leadership. We shall respond so that we can be able to give Kenyans alternative sources of information. So the alternative media, the social media, is also a new avenue that we must use to particularly dispense of information. But equally, if you want an objective debate, you must refrain from airing propaganda, innuendos, and unverified allegation guised as news, stage managed by Kalonzo Musyoka, James Orengo, and other actors in Atuju. Purported abductions, theaters, just to create, tensions, which you air. Particularly such content served only as a distortionist, for extortionist purposes and other improper purposes rather than public interest. This government has done so much. Now nobody cares to showcase it, but we don't mind. The impact of those who have been served and enjoy the direct benefit of this government is clear, and they will validate this government a second time. The erosion of professional ethics and intellectual integrity that has always been associated with journalism has diminished the credibility of journalism in some media houses and some journalists, and undermined public confidence in the media as an institution. The profession has failed to guard itself, and we have asked several other journalists. Remember, this profession was revered in the days of Professor Hilary Ng'wen and others. To raise above these unprofessional practices and place ratings, personal vendetta, political narratives, or commercial interests above rigorous fact-checking and responsible reporting, thus pretending a den of quacks. No democratic society should be held hostage by the proliferation of fake news. And in fact, in Africa, Kenya is the highest producer of fake news. The global average is 30%. Kenya stands at about 70%. Misleading narrative, and it's because of this Christian Anampos. Misleading narratives and theories, or deliberately distorted and purported reporting, being insinuated, instituted by those with a constitutional mandate to inform the public accurately. The media's resolved to inflame public opinion. I was told some of them on the 25th of June 2024, were cheering in the media houses hoping something drastic would happen. Sijui Ruto sijui aliwafanya nini, sijui alitaka sijui kuwaibia nini, sijui kuwachukulia nini, sijui aliwatoa NTV ndio wakaenda ya Citizen. We're hoping the country would ban high emotions and ban soft members of public points of their interactions with information through unverified claims or manufactured controversy and misinformation only serves to further narrow parochial interests and desires. These media personalities have chosen to actively participate in politics, journalistic gymnastics, and outright street activism. In fact, in the 2025 demonstrations, some of them had already placed cameras because they were briefed by the demonstrators where they are going to be. You saw they already had live cameras on certain streets that they knew there will be people coming from Kiambu Road and other roads. They had live cameras. The majority of these anchors and presenters on both television and radio have actively engaged in politics. We invite those responsible for their media roles and join them to resign from their media roles. Kama unataka siasa, wachana na media, fanya kama wengine waliotangulia wamekuwa, tafuta siasa. Kuna baadhi yenu are looking for positions, I'm told, and I wish them well, but I have invited some to our party. They are good men and women. Hata mimi nilipotaka kufanya siasa niliacha human rights. Wengine wamejificha nyuma human rights huko wanafanya siasa. Wewe acha hiyo system. Acha KTN, ambia Gideon Moi akuje atafute rais. Aone atapata kura ngapi. Ambia Chacha Mwita akuwe running.